Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. We know that during war, the first victim is truth. So they all start lying more than usual and provide you with information or no information at all, or misinformation or disinformation. The problem is the people who are not actively involved in a war and we're not in high positions, because you can be involved in a war in the trenches, you don't know anything more than really what the whole strategy is. You're fighting, you know your reality around you, and they don't have time to check your let me check the news and see what's new. So I'm talking about the guys that really involved at the highest positions, that have the information coming to them, actual information, and that information doesn't really trickle to us as it comes for obvious reasons. So we have to be very careful and try to find as many sources as possible and compare and contrast information that we get. And obviously sometimes we get fooled by the misinformation or disinformation, depending on the interest of those guys who provide us with information. Now, what's going on here? We have to figure out certain kind of euphemisms used, or certain kind of talk, and you have to look beyond it and understand what exactly happens. For instance, right now I have this article that talks about Zelensky, who convenes a meeting of staff of Supreme Commander-in-Chief to discuss situation in Bakhmut and Kreminna. Now this is a meeting at the highest level for the Ukrainians. The article comes from Ukrainska Pravda from today, Tuesday the 27th. And this is we say, okay, well, that's a very important situation here, right, developing. A meeting of the staff of Supreme Commander-in-Chief to discuss the situation in two places, Bakhmut and Kreminna. And then we find here that, listen to this sweet talk here, President Volodymyr Zelensky has held a regular meeting of the staff of the Supreme Commander-in-Chief. If I read that and I read the regular, that means it's something that it's common, it happens often, nothing extraordinary about it. If I look at the title, to discuss situation in Bakhmut and Kreminna, I don't think it's very regular. Maybe it is regular, but the fact that they are focused on those two positions could mean that that's kind of an emergency meeting. That's an interpretation. I agree with you, but I have two statements that are kind of, or at least are two sentences, are kind of a little bit completing one another. The source is press service of the President's Office of Ukraine. We know that in Bakhmut things are not good for the Ukrainians, for the West, whatever, the other side. We know that one. The problem, how bad it is, I think that in about a week and a half, let's say 2 weeks, things will be determined over there, either or. And if it's either, then the Russians have free reign towards wherever they go. I think this is the last bastion of the Ukrainian defense. And that's not according to me, that's according to a Ukrainian Deputy Minister of Defense of Ukraine, Hanna Maliar. I made a video on her statement, who considers Bakhmut the last, how do you call it, not battlefield, fortress. Not the last, but the fortress of Eastern Fortress. Not fortresses or anything. One, the last, I will guess. But anyway, let's see what these guys discussed supposedly during this meeting. Or at least how much they let us know. Quote, staff members heard the reports of the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine and the commanders of the troops of operational directions about the situation of the front, discussed the implementation of the previous decisions of the staff meeting regarding certain fronts, in particular near the settlements of Bakhmut and Kreminna. End quote. You see, the only name that you find here is the President, Zelensky, mentioned in the first sentence, and in the title. You don't find any other names of any other individuals, military generals or anything like that. You find at the end, the background, they mention Hanna Maliar, Deputy Minister of Defense of Ukraine, because she is, how should I put it, she's not a threat to the public image of Zelensky, which is they try to keep this guy as being the most popular, the only one. The rest are unimportant. They say, you know, commanders of the troops, the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, which is Zaluzny, but is not mentioned here, I think, right? Other commanders not mentioned, because the population, or us, would say, oh, there's some other people, good people over there on the Ukrainian side, right? No. All you need to know is Zelensky. That's all you need to know. You got an Ikhnat here and there, you got another Reznikov right there, but those are not threats to the image of the only leader of the military, hero of Ukraine. I saw that in some Americans media outlets, some articles. I was like, oh my God, let me throw up. He's the hero of Ukraine, of the world or something. Oh my God. Anyway, the question of providing Ukraine's armed forces with the necessary weapons and equipment was considered at the meeting. You're going to have people to pull triggers or no? It is reported that the implementation of the action plan of the armed forces for the next year was discussed separately. So separately is this, and this Bakhmut and Kreminna is the most important, it seems like. Background. Earlier, Hanna Maliar, Deputy Minister of Defense of Ukraine, reported that Russian occupiers have set themselves the goal of reaching the administrative border of Donetsk Oblast by the end of the year. I don't think so. I think their goal is to win and to implement, fulfill the minimum four requirements, demands, points why they intervened in Ukraine. And remember those: denazification, demilitarization, taking care of the breakaway republics, make sure that NATO is not involved in Ukraine, so neutralize and make Ukraine a neutral country, not towards them, not towards the other ones. That's the main goal. And if that takes longer, it's unfortunate. Remember, they retreated from areas pushed back by Ukrainians, but it was an orderly retreat. According to some, it was no, they ran, that they found the boots behind them. That's how fast they ran. Anyway, we'll find out. I think the Russians had to give that, were overwhelmed, not prepared. All that the Ukrainians took in September, I think 99% with certainty that the Russians will take it back. It's just a matter of time. Remember, the Russians are not like other armies, which are very show-oriented, you know, pictures, and we're going to do this. Yes, you have the propaganda, obviously, but I think they're not very oriented in the, how do you call that, on the wrapping of the product. They're more interested in the product than in the wrapping. Like you have a present, a very nice wrapped, you know, and then when you open it, is the bullshit. You would rather have that, or you would rather have a normal wrapping, but inside something valuable that you really enjoyed. Well, the ideal point would be to have both beautiful, the wrapping beautiful and what's inside meaningful and valuable, something that you really appreciate. Well, the problem here is that Maliar, which I think is told what to say and how to show and how to dress, I think she's saying that because the guys telling her are having a mindset of their culture in these kind of circumstances, which think that the Russians are, no, you gotta do that by then, because if not, we're losing or something, or what, the Russians are not gonna support the war or something. Anyway, obviously this is my interpretation based on my knowledge of things. Things could be really genuine, and really the Russians would like to reach the border by then. I think they wanted to reach that point, I don't know, 7 months ago, but you know what I mean. Why? Because once you set something and you fail, you have the risk and you have to weasel your way out. So better now leave some little, well, maybe, could be, the goals are those over there, when we reach them, and we will reach them. That's all you need to say. We will reach them. And the problem is when you don't reach them, it's clear. But the problem is when this scuffle or whatever war between those and not the Ukrainians, those and the Russians ends, I guarantee you that both sides or all sides will declare victory. You're not going to hear anybody saying, well, we kind of lost here. Nah, they're all going to twist and turn and say, yeah, we did that, but we did this. Actually, we didn't lose. We didn't lose Crimea. We gave it to them temporarily for about 3,000 years from now. Or something like this. From now on, it's going to be theirs. Something like this. Interpretation. When we destroy that, we show them who we are. We fought for freedom. We show them that we're strong. Freedom will always succeed. The will of the people. Look how free you are. And then talk about Ukraine and that kind of defender of freedom. And Zelensky, the hero. Anyway, so yes, I think this little meeting that occurred, it's an emergency meeting. That's my gut feeling about that. And I don't think is probably on the structure of regular meetings, this being the subject of today's meeting, that would give me the impression that they are like, cut the crap, let's talk about it, the shit hits the fan now. But hey, what do I know, right? I'm just, the things are escalating, or they point to one direction. The Bakhmut, Avdiivka, Liman, and whatever is over there, Novopavlivka fronts, and one that is mentioned here that I just started hearing about it in the past 3 days actually, in the articles. It doesn't mean they were not active before, which I'm pretty sure they were, but they escalated towards like, if we lose this, you know, the last fortress, then it seems like the Russians opened the gates of Troy, to be nice. Okay, thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay Troy, stay Troy. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.